Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. It's a Kipco British Champions Day special. And things we have this year is depth to the races. We've got half decent ground for the time of year as well. And I think we've got a quality card, potentially on paper, the best ever depth-wise Kipco British Champions Day on the 10-year anniversary. Welcome along, Sam Turner at S Turner Tipster, Steve Jones at SJ Racing Media, and Declan Ricks at Hawkwing 2002. Hi, Rixie. How are you?
We're getting off on the wrong foot already. Do not disgrace the great horse like that.
Who? Hawkwing. He was all right. Hawkwing, was it? He was all right.
Good horse.
What? Why such a favourite of yours out of interest?
Because he was a monster, and he's still the best horse that Aidan O'Brien ever trained. Never mind your St. Mark's Basilica. Great mind, great body, speed to burn. This fellow is twice the horse of all these lads. So anyway, carry on.
It's all about firing up Mr. Libel himself just before the podcast gets going. Sam Turner, how are you? Looking very dapper. Those of you who are listening and not watching, shame on you. You're missing out.
Hardly, Tom. Yeah, I've just put a jumper on. Yeah, really controversial. No, good form, thank you. Looking forward to some brilliant matchups, as you say, all the way through the card. So just 6 races, but a lovely blend, I think. Other than the 2-year-old race, we've got everything, haven't we?
Yeah, and talking of a lovely blend, fantastic gilet jumper combination from Steve Jones. How are you, Jones? Are you okay?
Good, thanks. Nice to see you on time this week.
We get out of the way. Get out of the way early. Just about. Really good weekend we've got set up for you this weekend. 6 races on Saturday, Group 2, then the Group 1s, and then the Balmoral Handicap. Right, let me get everything out of the way first of all, making you aware, of course, of the Matchbook offer. It is for new customers only. It is the Bet 10, Get 15 offer. Bet £10 and you will get 15 back to you. In order to take advantage of that and to play with that 15, having Bet 10, you need to use the bonus codes Insights 15, and that is Insights capitalized 15, the numbers 15, Insights 15, 18 plus, be gamble aware. Go to insights.matchbook.com if you're listening to this and want to get an idea as to who we are putting up. All the best bets will be on there, and that goes for all the sports that we are previewing this weekend at insights.matchbook.com. Plenty of articles up there for you. If you are watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up and please do subscribe. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, you can subscribe and also give us a review on whatever your preferred podcast app is. There we go. On we roll with the previews then. 6 races for you. And we start with a belting renewal of the Long Distance Cup. I mean, it looks really, really strong. Trushan sits pretty at the top of the betting. At 2.37. Stradivarius is 4.5. Hamish is 7.5. Baron Samdi, the judge's choice, is 9.0. 10.0 for Princess Zoe. Quite sure she's going to have her grab. Are they good to soft? May just be all right. And then we're into the slightly bigger prices. Right, Sam, I'm going to come to you first. And I suppose the most important thing to lead off with is just conditions you're expecting this Saturday at Ascot.
Yeah, obviously looking at the track layout and the turf track data, it's dried out a little bit from 24 hours beforehand. So that's understandable. They haven't had a lot of rain. They've had some heavy dews, a lot of moisture around at the moment. So that's retaining a certain amount of moisture, the Ascot turf. But other than Swindley Bottom, it's dried out to good to soft on the round course. It's good to soft on the straight course, but with patches of good. So you would imagine with another 48 hours of largely dry weather, there might be the odd shower around, I think, but largely dry weather, we're going to have near perfect conditions. Might just be a bit tacky on the round course, but hopefully the straight course will be fine. Suit the likes of Palace Pier, etc., as we move on through the card. But whether it'll dry up significantly enough to blunt Trushan's chances, open to question, really. There'll probably just be enough juice for him to get away with it. But it will also, save compromising one or two others, the likes of Stradivarius and others in the opening race should all find that conditions are in their favour and shouldn't find anything to compromise their chance. I think whatever you do in this race, Trushan is the clear form pick and the best horse in the race, provided there's just about enough juice in the ground for him. I think you've got either got to have a saver or make him your major selection. As you touched on in your preview, Baron Samedi would be my other pick. I thought he ran really well in the Irish Ledger. picked up very strongly in the closing stages to close in on Sonny Boy Liston. That was his first run for a while. He's had a fairly light campaign, which is a feature that I like about his chance as well. Cheap pieces on for the first time. Just think he's a bit of value, really. I think he's a quality horse. I mean, he's improved nearly £50 for being gelded. I think there's a few wives who'll be looking at that trend and wondering whether it might be worth enforcing. But that's by the by. All conditions come alike to him. I think he comes from a yard in pretty good order at the moment. I think he's a fair win and place proposition against Trushan if Trushan's too short in the market for you. But you know, the lads will tell you that performance 12 months ago from Trushan was astonishing, well backed at big prices. And, you know, the acceleration that he showed on the home turn to win this 12 months ago was pretty astonishing for a stayer. And he's proved that all the way through the season. And when he gets his conditions, he's nigh on unbeatable. So if he hasn't left his race behind in Longchamp, then I think he's definitely a huge player again. And I'll have a saver on him, but I'll also back Baron Samedi.
Yeah, I suppose that's the concern, isn't it? Whether or not this comes a little bit too quickly, just 14 days after the win in France. That was something that Alan King certainly suggested was a concern when I spoke to him this morning. There's the first name drop of the podcast, but he wouldn't be running him if he didn't feel he was right enough, I suppose. And one thing he did say was interesting. You know, he said this is his last run of the season, so whatever happens, he's got a whole winter to get over it. I thought that was interesting.
He was also worried about the trip and the ground in Longchamp as well.
Yeah, and he scampered clear. So I take that exactly. Right, come to you, Rixie, because I know you like Baron Samedi as well, and you're keen to play in the without Trushan market.
Yeah, I'll probably play in both markets, win and place, and also without Trushan. Look, I think Sam, I don't need to waffle on here and speak much more than what Sam says. Like, as we all know, as the form book says, Trushan is got the best form in the book. He's the best horse in the race, but I'd just be a little bit worried. He's backing up quickly 2 weeks after Paris Longchamp Arc weekend, and he's the type of horse I don't think he ever gives himself an easy race. He can be keen. 2 miles, 4 furlongs, the furthest he's ever been. On what James Doyle and Frankie Dettori said on the Saturday of our weekend was genuine soft ground. So, look, if it leaves a little mark on him, you know, if that run doesn't allow him to run up to his full potential, he's there to be shot at. And I think Baron Samedi is a lovely progressive horse. He's coming in here fresher, which is probably the key angle. I think you get the race run to suit. We've got Berkshire, Rocco Master, Reality, and the Mediterranean in there. So I think the pace will be honest. First time cheek pieces. Dylan Brown McMonigal, I knew I'd butcher that, gets on well with him. And I think, you know, he's a strong travelling horse who stays well. And I think stepping up to 2 miles is going to suit him. No ground worries with him. Heavy ground, good ground, it all applies. So, I'm hoping basically the freshness angle is what will hopefully get him home. But I'll be playing him without Trushan as well, in the hope, well, not the hope, but in the thought that maybe Stradivarius, an aging warrior now, mightn't run up to his best either, backing up so quickly. And we shouldn't forget, you know, a lot of these Gosden horses are probably running here because he's looking to win the Trainers' Championship. So, I'm not suggesting that these horses are not coming here in good order, but, you know, if they were 50-50, I'd say that with Gosden going for the championship, they would be running. So, having said that, I wouldn't talk a lot about the horse after Sam gave him a perfectly good mention. I waffled on for ages. So, we'll go back to you, Tom, in the studio.
Lovely stuff. You mentioned Aging Warrior, which is a perfect link to Steve's selection, which is Stradivarius. I meant the horse, Steve, obviously. Go on, flesh it out for us. Because you put him up at York, and you were spot on, and you were adamant that he would win. And you're singing from a similar hymn sheet here.
Well, he was 4-6 at York. I'm not going to start windmilling around the room, but no, I just think.
Can you, just explain when you say windmilling, right? What is the?
Well, like Mick Shannon used to do when he used to score a goal, he used to windmill his arm round, didn't he? Well, I don't know what you're thinking.
Thank God for that, yeah. Jeez.
Or take it any which way you like, you boys. Sam knew what I was on about. Maybe these days it means something completely different.
But it does to the youth, Steve, yeah.
Frankie would know what windmilling is when he's doing a flying dismounting raising his arm in celebration. Because Stradivarius, although he's clearly not as good as he was, but then there probably hasn't been many stayers in history who have been as good as he was. And last time the ground, it was never going to be up his street in the Cadran. It was very, very soft that Arc weekend. And he still finished second. And although he was 4 lengths behind Trushan, that's the real conditions, as we know, that Trushan loves and Stradivarius hates. And the 2 runs before that, okay, the fields weren't particularly strong, but he won. And in the Gold Cup at Royal Ascot, when Trushan decided the ground was too quick, or Alan King did, which you can understand, Stradivarius got no run whatsoever behind Subjectivist, was stuck behind 2 horses turning in and just couldn't get into it. So I still think he's got a hugely a high level of ability still, even though he's below his best. I think this is the last time we'll ever see him. And I think maybe it's a little bit of sentiment, but I think definitely the prices are too far apart because the ground is going to bring them together, Trushan. And I think they're miles clear of Hamish is what, 7.0 or something. And Baron, I'm interested that you guys think Baron Samidi's got a chance. I don't think he's got any chance of staying whatsoever. But we shall see.
Anybody want to come back to Jonesy on that? Are you happy?
I think he did win over 2 miles at Belmont earlier in the season.
And he wanted every inch of a mile and 6 at the Curragh. So
on breeding, I was sprint better on the dam side by Harbour Watch, who's had 1 winner over 2 miles from about 25-30 runners or something. I just don't see that at all.
Good. I'm looking forward to the WhatsApp group after the opening race. So Steve Stradivarius, 4.5. It's just an outright win bet, I take it.
Yeah, small one.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't love this race. I find it difficult each and every year. And of all of the races, I'd be least keen on this one personally. The Trushan quick backup, it's just a niggling doubt for me. So I wouldn't want to back him at that price. And I'm just going to be a bit. It's slightly fence city, but I thought Berkshire Rocco at 15.0 was worth a bet, win and place. Just the freshness. Go on.
Go on. What do we make of Oshie not riding Berkshire Rocco? I thought, given he's going for the championship, that he would have been riding him. I don't know, does Jason Watson maybe have a deal with the owner now since he's left Roger Charlton's, but I thought Oisin would have been log odds on to ride this horse given the championship. So I just thought that was interesting at Dex.
Yeah, I mean, Oisin does ride the Berkshires, doesn't he? So as a rule, I guess it's more that Jason Watson's ridden in the last couple of times. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know what it is exactly. And in fact, just on questions, I just bring in Nick's comment. Nick Palfrey has said, it doesn't relate to this race, but I wonder if we can answer it. Nick says, why isn't Free Wind running in the Fillies race? I genuinely don't know. And has anyone seen anything as to why she doesn't line up?
I've only seen a line on Paddy Toomey's horse who's been saved for the Breeders' Cup, by Team Valor, but I haven't heard any reason why Free Wind.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they going? Honestly?
Yeah.
Do they know it's at Del Mar in California and the ground's going to be quite firm there?
Yeah, it's a strange decision, but maybe Andrew Balding's filly is an absolute flying machine. So
yeah, that's a bit of a joke, to be honest, because we were told the whole way up in the race that Le Petit Coco was running here, and nothing came out before Dex this morning. Same with the Gosling horse, nothing came out. I feel sorry for anyone who's backed any of those 2 horses anti-posts. So I think that Team Valor call is absolutely bananas, if I'm being honest.
I'll just tie up the thoughts on the long distance cut, which is I think Cheap Piece's first time for Berkshire Rocco is no bad thing actually, and he will have needed the run. I would have thought at Salisbury. He needs to improve a heck of a lot, but he is a course winner, and that Albufeira form isn't bad. Ground should be fine. He sort of fits into the completely unexposed stayer bracket, and I just thought he was a bigger price than I thought he would be. And it's one of those, if it doesn't come off, hey, but if it does, maybe you look a bit clever. So it'd be small stakes win and place Berkshire Rocco for me. Let's move on to the first of the Group 1s. And this is the Kipco British Champion Sprint. It's the 2 o'clock. We've got last year's winner, although a much bigger price this time round. It's a nice and open contest with 20 runners. The draw will be interesting here. Sometimes it favours at this meeting when the ground's soft to be far side. But let's see. 5.5 Dragon Symbol, Art Power 6.0, Rohan 6.0, Creative Force is 7.5, 8.0 Minzal. Then we get into the double figures. It's a very open renewal. And I'll come straight back to you, Steve. You are looking towards the top of the market.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting race, this, with Art Power, who has been one of my sprinters to follow in recent years. But you look at his record, and he's won 2 Group 3s, and every time he's running a Group 1 or a Group 2, he's run all right, but he hasn't managed to get the job done. And I think they've overreacted to that impressive run at the Curragh last time. But the interesting thing with him is he is drawn 20, and he does seem to be the only pace highish. I think that most of the pace, like Glen Shield, last year's winner, and a few of the others drawn low, might set it up nicely for a horse who stays a bit further. Creative Force, who is one of those horses that's a 7 furlong specialist, but there aren't any decent races over 7 furlongs bar the Lennox and the Hungerford Stakes, and the Foray in France is the only Group 1 over in Europe, I think, over 7. So they're coming back to 6 furlongs, and he did run well in the July Cup when the ground was on the quick side. In fact, it was quick. And again, last time at Haydock on quick ground in the Sprint Cup. Now he's got easier ground, which he's got a good record on. He won the Jersey Stakes over 7 at Royal Ascot on soft ground, and he also won very impressively at Newbury before that in a listed race over 6. So I think this will be set up nicely for him by the likes of Glen Shield, maybe Dragon Symbol be up with the pace as well, and a few of the others that like to go forward over on that far side. Adzano is the other one that's on the far side that's set it up. So I think Creative Force on a stiffer 6 on soft ground, good, solid chance.
Creative Force is right towards the top of the betting, which is 7.5 out of stall number 5. Rixie, you got a couple you want on side, fair prices as well. You're the old boys up here for the sixth time he's running in this race.
Yeah, it's actually I only came down on Brando last night. He's just a mad price, isn't he? You know, not even. I think people will jump maybe on him and have a little bet on him just when they look at his record in this race and go, he's a big price or whatever. But having started the season slowly, he's been holding his form really well. If you go back and watch the July Cup on ground, that was probably a little bit quick enough for him on the Newmarket July course. Maybe, well, no, I wouldn't say it doesn't bring out the best of him because I think he's run there before, but I think Ascot definitely suits him better. He travelled all over Creative Force in the early stages in that race, and he was very unlucky because Creative Force edged right onto the stand side rail, hampered him, and it, on quick ground when they just started racing into the dip there. I think that put him at a disadvantage. Then he went to France in the Prix de Geese, and he was a little bit unlucky early. Again, he was hampered before running on well. And I think if that race was another half a furlong, he probably would have finished 3rd. So you've got to forgive a run last time out at Beverley, but 5 furlongs isn't his bag anymore, I would say. The other thing with that, I think when Tom Eves pulled the blind off, I think it maybe spooked him a little bit because he was really slow away. So we're going to need a little bit of luck here in terms of getting away on terms. But if you look at this race, there's Art Power, Adzano, Glen Shield, Gustavus Weston, Nando Parado, Highfield Princess, all forward-going front runners. I think this could set up really nicely for a closer late, and that's what Brando does. He travels for fun and he picks up late. So I want him on side. The other one I want on side is Happy Romance. Look, she needs to improve, but look, I think just a general comment about sprinting in Europe at the moment, I think it's really weak. I really do. There's no superstar in here. Starman, he probably would have been favoured coming in here, but depending on price, I probably would have been willing to take him on, even on his favourite good ground. I basically think this division just all boils down to who's in form on the day and who gets the best tactical setup. So I've spoken about Brando. I want to add Happy Romance. comes here on the back of a career best effort in the Haydock Sprint Cup. Maybe a little bit unlucky that day, just got a little bit further behind on really quick ground before she came home well. And look, she's another one I think the race will set up nicely for. I think if it stays dry for the next 2 days, that's going to be a massive plus to her, because I think she's a horse that really wants like lightning quick ground. I think firm ground in your Santa Anitas and in your Australias, I think that would suit her. She's that kind of horse. And the other thing is, I'm a little bit worried about her staying a stiff six as strong as some. But she's been getting better every year. She's a strong mare. She's progressed again. I think she'll be banging the mix. So I'd put those two up against the field. One other point I did want to make, which you touched on, is the layout of the straight track at Ascot. It's railed out to about the 3 furlong pole, isn't it? And usually when the ground's very soft at this meeting, they dive out to the far side. So drawn low is usually a positive. I'm wondering at this time with the rail, if you had a horse that could front run down the kind of the rail that they have in the middle of the track and get away. So I'm thinking Art Power in this race is drawn 20. D'Souza's going to gun him out because he's been gunning him out all year. But the setup for this track could actually suit him doing that this year. You'll have to be a little bit professional. It'll set him up for the first 3 furlongs, and then he'll have to be professional when the rail goes away and run straight. But I just think that's something to keep note of, because we're usually associate this meeting with all the horses going far side on soft ground, but the ground's going to be good on the straight track this year. So I'm thinking horses that are drawn high and can run along that rail for the first 3 furlongs and the first 5 furlongs in the mile race. They could actually be suited to that. So I just thought, I don't know if you guys are picturing that. I'm looking at Tom's face and he's going, what the fuck is this fella talking about?
So you're talking stand side, right?
Yes, stand side basically, because they put a rail essentially down the middle of the track. But as I said, we're always associate this this race and this meeting with soft ground, which they go far side. But the ground's not going to be that soft, so the middle of the track might be still the place to be. And if you're a front runner, you could have a nice rail help guiding you for 3 furlongs, get a little break on the field and go. So that's just something that I was thinking in my mind. Possibly I've overcomplicated the whole thing, but we'll find out. It'll be interesting to see what Art Power does, because he usually's gone out from the stalls. He's drawn high. He could have that rail to run against for the first 3 furlongs, and he might just slip the field a little bit early. So we'll see. I could be talking absolute BS, which is not unusual, but we'll have a look.
No, it's not something I'd consider, but he is drawn 20 or 20. And like you say, it's not going to be desperate ground. Sam Turner.
He should give a lovely lead to Rohan, shouldn't he? I mean, you go back and watch this horse's run in the Flying Five. I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary. He must have given 6 or 8 lengths out of the boxes. He's got beat 2. It was probably one of the sprint performances of the season, and it seemed to have gone under the radar a little bit. I suppose not with the layers and the matchbook compilers who have him in sort of pretty short in the market for this. But I thought it was an extraordinary performance of quality. I mean, he hasn't even had half a ride throughout that race, and he's still passed good horses, finished on the heels of a horse that's won the Abbey, a horse that finished 3rd in the Abbey. It was an extraordinary performance. Add to that he's 2 from 2 at Ascot. He's 2 from 3 for Ryan Moore, who's back on. Hopefully those slow starting traits aren't going to beset his chances here, and he can actually jump away on terms, because if he's anywhere near him with a furlong to run, he's just going to muddle these. I've never seen a horse slice through a Wokingham field like he did this summer. He barely had a tap with the Persuader, or the Pro Cush, as Steve likes to call it. And, he's absolutely hacked up in the Wokingham, which is, a terrific performance, beating a good quality field. I just think he's a real class animal, this lad. And I think he's drawn with Highfield Princess. He's got Art Power alongside him. Nothing's going to lead Art Power. He's the quickest thing in the field, I think, for me. So Rohan should get a lovely toe, and Ryan should just be able to arrive there swinging. Job done.
I think the way D'Souza rides out Art Power, it's like he always forgets the irons on at home, and he's like, "Oh shit, need to get home." So he's going to be clear, isn't he?
I think he thinks he's riding Winter Power, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of time for Art Power. I thought it was a tremendous performance at the Curragh, but for me, it's no coincidence that I think he's 2 from 2 now with David Allen on. Just gave him a bit of chance at the Curragh, rather than the Haydock ride that Sylvester gave him, where it was just like, oh my life, in that Sprint Cup, just went 5 furlong pace and there was nothing left in the last 100 yards. Just on Jonesy's point as well with Creative Force, I thought he's a massive player if there is a little bit of a bias over on that far side. I thought he ran brilliantly away from the action at Newmarket. He stumbled when I put him up in the Sprint Cup. He stumbled coming out the stalls, got knocked about a bit, and the track just wasn't stiff enough for him. I think here is ideal for Creative Force. I think he's a big player again.
I very nearly went with your selection, Rohan. I was just I was disappointed he was so well found in the betting was the only thing. I thought we might be onto a fast one, and actually I was like, oh, it's 6.0. So I didn't feel so clever. But
just put him back in at evens, Tom. You'll get done.
Yeah,
provided
exactly.
he jumps away.
I thought he had a great chance. I'd rather back him probably than Dragon Symbol, probably. But I'm going for some, Ascot horses who I think this could suit, which is one is Vadream, who won really well over course and distance last time. She's got to step up massively, but I'm hoping it unfolds similarly. David Egan is on board again, similar sort of ride you would imagine, and it should unfold similarly. Stall 9 is not going to be a bad thing. And the other one, which is probably a silly bet, is Last Empire, win and place at 51.0. I don't think she'll be too far away from the pace. I'm not sure that's going to suit. But I remember speaking to Kevin Ryan after Goodwood, and he said this has been the plan all season. They've just been working back from this. Obviously, she was well put in her place in the foray last time. But look, a stiff 6 should really suit. She's going to get her sort of ground, and she's just a bit forgotten, I thought, off the back of that Goodwood run. So I'll have her very small win and place. Should we move on? Happy? On we go. So this is the Fillies and Mares. This is the 235. We've touched on the fact that free win doesn't line up in here. So we've just got the 8, possibly the weakest of all the contests depth-wise, I think it's fair to say. Snowfall heads the betting. That is very much unsurprising. Currently 1.93, 6.0 for Alba Flora. Invite is 7.0. Ashada is 9.0. And then we are into some good bit bigger prices. So there's not much agreement in here. Rixie, come to you first of all. Again, without Snowfall?
I'll probably play against her as long as the 8 stay in, win in place as well. Before I go on to that, I'm really disappointed with this race. This race looked like it was actually going to be a cracker 5 days ago. The Petit Coco, Free Wind, Love was in there as well. None of them declared. I'm really disappointed Snowfall goes here. I've been itching to see her over 10. But look, this looks it looks a lot easier than the Arc for her, obviously. But I've never after her brilliant performance at Epsom, I haven't been convinced Snowfall is the same, that kind of filly. I think she was flattered on that day, beating up kind of vastly inferior opposition who didn't stay the trip. So, she's the most likely winner here. Don't get me wrong, but she just looks like a horse to me who's crying out for 10 furlongs now. She's, she travels really well. I just think that there could be a little chance that she gets outstayed here, laid on by something. And the other thing we've got to factor in is maybe, did she have a hard race in the Arc on very soft ground where she travelled well again? And again, her last furlong was very disappointing, which kind of suggests to me that, it's worth a go over 10. Ascot's going to be a stiffer track, but it's going to be better ground, to be fair. But I just have no interest backing her at that price. So I'm going to back win in place, Alpha Laura. And I'm also going to back her win, obviously win only without Snowfall. She's got plenty of Ascot form, Alpha Laura. Ran well behind Snowfall when they clashed in the Yorkshire Oaks. Look, she's got 4 lengths to make up on her there. But the ground's going to be a little bit softer, which will definitely aid her cause at making this more of a stamina test. Look, she's fresher than Snowfall. Plenty of her best runs have come here at Ascot. So that's how I'm going to play this race.
Actually, is 0.0 is Alba Flora. Sam Turner, who do you like?
Yeah, I echo a lot of the sentiments there from Rixie, really, regarding Snowfall. This looks, after the Lord Mayor show a little bit. I'm not saying she can't win, but it just has the impression that the Arc was the main end of season target, and they're rolling the dice, to coin a phrase, with her here. Look, she has every opportunity to to land another big prize and end the season on a high, and it'd be no surprise. But she's odds on. We have the dead 8. Hopefully they'll stand the ground. I can understand the case for Albaflora. Runs the track well, likes a bit of cut, is fresher than most, and it's the same form line, so that makes perfect sense to me. I'll probably just go a little bit outside the box. The horse I backed anti-post for this, Invite, who I was really, really impressed with when she won at Chester. I know it's Chester form. The race might have fallen apart a little bit, but there's a prospect of a decent gallop on here, I think, with the likes of La Joconde, Mystery Angel. Hopefully they'll go a reasonable gallop, set a strong pace, and that'll suit her because she'll probably be dropped out the back and hope to come with a late run under John Egan. Never thought I'd hear the words, John Egan competing for a Group 1, but here he is, reinvented himself again, incredibly, and he's got a live chance on this. And I wonder whether it is interesting that, Invite's running here for Team Valor. They took out Le Petit Coco. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think at 7.0, I'm happy to pay and take a chance.
Yeah, I'm trying to think outside the box as well with 9.0 shot, which is... sorry, I've just seen the note about William Buick. Sorry if anybody's watching. And, of course, you might be watching this and recording the racing at Chelmsford. So if you don't want to know the result, look away. William Buick won now.
Nice spoiler there, Tom. Nice work.
I'm going to go a
You could do the 10 o'clock news on the Saturday, Tom.
Listen, that's the plan.
We didn't do a James Bond preview, isn't it?
Yeah.
It would. It's the shame thing is, it would be a 10 o'clock news at 10:20.
Hey, it was such a good joke, but you nearly got it out first time.
Oh dear.
Right. Where are we? Yeah, Ashada. I think that I'm just taking a punt that she wants a bit of cut in the ground. She ran well at Ascot on quick ground. She got a horrible trip that day. And York, it was a blowout effort, really. I think she's better than that anyway. So a bit of a break, and it's just her 5th start. If she wants a bit of cut in the ground, then I can give her a chance of hitting the frame here. And I want to play without Snowfall. I find her just too hard to work out. I don't really with or against. 9.0 Ashada, win and place. Steve Jones.
Amazing price, Snowfall. If she'd have come here after she won the Yorkshire Oaks, she'd be 1-10. But she's not. She's running in 2 races at Longshot, including the Arc, where she ran really well. But I don't, like you guys, I don't really want to get involved in her at short prices at the end of the season. And the one that I'm going to throw a tiny few quid at is Lady Hayes, who, has got to improve her form quite substantially, especially last time at Salisbury and back in May at Goodwood. But her only run over 1.5 miles, which was in soft ground, she was second in the Lancashire Oaks at Alpinista. And we know how good Alpinista's form is worked out because Alpinista obviously beat the Arc winner. And although it's impossible to take that literally, the fact that Lady Hayes is 34.0, something like that.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Winning place, more on the place, because I think she's good value at the place. I think there's obviously with the dead 8, there's value in the place market. And I don't see her form as being any worse than a lot of the others. And horses like Mystery Angel's been on the go all season. And Lady Hayes is only had 4 runs this season, and 2 of those were in May. So she's going to be fresher than most. She liked the softish ground and the unexposed at the distance. So way overpriced for me, Lady Hayes.
Lady Hayes at 34.0, win and place. Good evening, Giles, who's joined us as ever.
Hold
Welcome
on.
along. Before
Before you say anything, the Giles mentioned Lady Hayes by Kodiak.
Oh, he doesn't like it, does he? Yeah. No, wait, what's the one that Giles doesn't like? The
Didn't he give Jonesy grief about his bet in the Guineas because it was by Kodiak?
No, it was
Zoffany,
and
then
it
Mother
was,
Earth.
and then Mother Earth was a Zoffany, won the next day. So yeah.
Hi, Giles. Anyway, welcome along.
But Lady Hayes, all the stamina's on the dam side anyway, so don't worry about that.
Let's move on to the Queen Elizabeth II stakes. And God, this is absolutely fascinating, renewal. Palace Pier. I don't know. He just, I think for me is a half interesting price potentially. Palace Pier we got in there at 2.6, Baid 3.5, Alcohol Free 10.0, as is Master of the Seas and the Revenant. And then we get stuck into the bigger
slacking up
price
from Sully. Sully's just wrote QE2. Couldn't even bother to spell it all out. That's just lazy.
I agree. Absolute disgrace job. It's
Irishman probably doesn't like the Queen. Terrible.
Yeah, I'd say that's what it is. Not good enough. Nothing to do with him copy and pasting from me.
I'm with Sully. You've got to try and save time in this world, Rixie, especially when you're going on.
It's gone out for everyone. Right.
I'm with Sully. Well done, Sully. You did a good job.
You can make your case there, Jonesy, and then they can come back at you. Who do you like?
Fantastic race this is. They've all come, haven't they? Palace Pier has been fantastic, but the only defeat in 10 races was in this race last year when, to be fair, Palace Pier was pretty poorly positioned behind the Revenant and Roseman, who were much further forward in the race. But I don't see this as being a strongly run race again. I think Ben Battle will set the pace. I don't see that helping Master of the Seas, who I was interested in, because I thought that run behind Ben Battle last time at Newmarket was a good first run since the Guineas, when Master of the Seas was second to Poetic Force. So Flair, rather. The one I'm going to come down on, who I think is overpriced, because I think the ground, again, is still going to be on the soft side, no matter how much drying out there's going to be. It's certainly not going to be anywhere near fast, is Alcohol Free. And I think if you go back through the past winners of this race, I think it's something like 10 of the last 14 were 3-year-olds. So this time of year, the 3-year-olds are definitely catching up, as we see across the board of races. Alcohol Free on softish ground, or certainly away from ground with firm in the description, it's got a fantastic record. Won the Sussex Stakes on soft ground, beating Poetic Flair and Snow Lantern and the rest of them. Before that, had beaten Snow Lantern in the Coronation Stakes on very testing ground at Ascot before that, and was fifth in the Guineas when, to me, didn't look to be enjoying the fast ground. And last time in the Juddmonde International, just clearly didn't stay. So Alcohol Free has got top mile form. I think from stall one, she'll be able to get a nice position in behind Ben Battle. And then I'm hoping that she'll get the job done. But it's a fantastic race. You got them all in there. Baid, the Revenant, Master of the Seas, Mother Earth even. But I think Alcohol Free winning place, I think it's almost... I can't see her at the frame, to be honest. At what, 10.0, 11.0, something like that?
Yeah, indeed, that exact price. Giles has said Master of the Seas for him. We'll give you a shout on that. Guineas winners and place horses have a great record. I remember Shadid and Haft. And he also says the Guineas was a very fast time too. Well, I'll tell you what, because you mentioned that, I'm going to say that the 1,000 Guineas winner is massively overpriced at 21.0. I'm really surprised that she's that sort of price.
She's a Zoffany though, Rixie, isn't she?
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah,
Zoffany. She still is, yes.
But she's a Guineas winner. She's 21.0, so win and place, fine for me. I think the straight Ascot track will really suit her. I thought she could have done probably with a bit more pace when she was beaten here in June in the Coronation. Maybe she's not good enough, but. And last time she was not drawn correctly, and you couldn't really get into it from off the pace. She's been on the go a long time. I'm really surprised she's that sort of price. I'm not going to back Palace Pier because I'm happy enough to watch it unfold at the top of the market. But my silly one is Lord Glitters at triple figures. It's offensive for him to be that sort of price. I know he's got £10 officially to find with Lord Glitter with Palace Pier. He has got 3 1/4 lengths to find from the Queen Anne run. That was on quick ground. He's won on this day before. I know it was a handicap, but and I know this is meant to be such a strong renewal, and yes, it is. But I am willing to give him a go at 101.0. It would be a penny's win and mainly in the place, but I just can't let him go off at that sort of price when we know this is his backyard, and he was very close to placing here when he ran in the Queen Anne, so he would be one at a half silly price for me. Rixie, have we done you, Rixie? No, take it away.
No.
Not Baid. I hadn't seen you put up Baid. It's a terrible price. Sorry, Rixie, go on.
This is a bit of a mad race. I think one tactically doesn't look a lot of pace on. I think Jonesy's already touched on it. Ben Battle obviously likes to go forward, but Oisin Murphy's not stupid. He's not. I don't think he's going to go like a flat gallop and tee it up for other horses. And in general, I don't like front runners on the straight track here at Ascot. But the other thing of that is Ben Battle is obviously owned by Godolphin, whose breeding arm is Darley. Darley's next big stallion is going to be Palace Pier, is it not? Palace Pier is undoubtedly much better off stronger gallops. Is there any way here that Saeed bin Saror and Oisin are told, sorry lads, you've got to do what's good for the bigger picture here and go a good strong gallop and try and set this up for Palace Pier?
I don't think so, because Pat Cosgrave rides Ben Battle.
Oh, is Pat Cosgrave on Ben Battle? I'm very sorry.
I'm taking the piss. No, I don't think so. I feel like, but I mean, possibly.
Oh, sorry. No, you're right. Sorry, you're right. He does. Sorry, I missed that up.
He will go forward though, won't he? But I find that, I don't know what anyone else thinks. I don't think side.
I think Rixie's right. I think that's what he will do. And Palace Pierce right alongside him.
Because look, this is what Coolmore would do, wouldn't it? If this was their next big potential stallion prospect, this is what they do. It wasn't too long ago Coolmore sacrificed Magical in an arc as a pacemaker for Japan. So I just don't know. I could be talking absolute nonsense, but I was wondering if that was the case. And I don't know the professional setup that Oisin has with Saeed and with Andrew. Is he switched on to alcohol free because Saeed told him, look, we're going to potentially set this up for Palace Pier because that's what Sheikh Mohammed wants to do? Or I don't know. I just think it's interesting because in a race that's not run at a strong gallop, I don't want to back Palace Pier at that price, because it's not that he doesn't have a turn of foot or whatever, but I just think this is a horse who I have no doubt would have been unbelievable over 10 furlongs. His best performances have come on soft ground off really strong gallops, and he doesn't want to get that. So that's why I'm going for a bead here, because I think he could just do Palace Pier for a little bit of toe if it is a slowly run race. But that's the thing here. Probably the wise choice here is not to have a bet and watch this. But we know this, because we don't know how it's going to pan out, or maybe have a bet in running. If you've got to get Jonesy's drone out there, you can get a couple of good running pictures, and we'll be laughing. But I don't know how it's going to play out. But I just think, on paper, that's the way we should look at it. I think it mightn't be strongly run, and that makes Palace Pier a little bit vulnerable. And I think Baid is just the up and comer who's got loads of class and loads of gears himself. So I don't know. It's a fascinating race tactically, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Sam.
Palace Pier wins, lads. He's only lost once at Ascot, and that came in this race last year. The ground was like a bog. Won't be like that on Saturday. You get a nice lead from Ben Battle. Master of the Seas might do him a favour. Franco's just sitting behind. Bade's stuck on the wing. Alcohol Free stuck on the other wing. He's got a nice bit of cover on Palace Pier. He just wins.
Moving on. Love that. Yeah. If you had a
Jeez,
mic,
I'm talking some shite today.
If you had a mic, you'd drop it. Right, on we go. There you go, it's pen. The Champion Stakes, Kipco British Champion Stakes. A Mishriff right at the top of the betting, which is the same price as Palace Pier. Adayar 3.0, Adabe is 9.0, Dubai on a 9.0, and then we're into the bigger prices with Sealy 15.0. Go on, Sam, I'll come straight back at you then. Who wins?
Oh, what a race this is. For me, St Mark's Basilica in this, and you've got one of the greatest 10 furlong races that in my lifetime, to be honest. I think it's a great contest.
So Mars Basilica is the best horse that Aidan O'Brien ever trained. It made Baldwin look fucking slow.
At least a stone better than Hawkwing.
Yeah.
I've gone around the houses with this. I could see the case for Mishrif, Adayar, even Adaib, Dubai Honor. Sealaway ran really well in the Arc and comes in, represents the St Mark's Basilica form. So I really don't want to have a bet at the front end of the market. If you push me from the two main protagonists, I think Adayar can improve over this trip. I think he races like 10 furlongs should be within his compass. I think he's got quicker as the season's worn on. The turn of foot he showed at Epsom, the turn of foot he showed to wrestle the King George, and then obviously the tenacity and stamina kicked in after that. I thought he ran perfectly well at Longchamp. If that's just at the edge off him, that might be a little bit of a concern, whereas Mishrif's been trained for this race. But I think I'm just going to Welsh out and have a win and place bet on Adaib. To be honest, he's raced 8 times with Tom Marquand. He's won 5 of those, been placed second on the other 3 occasions. I don't think he's been at the first 3 since May 2019, which is incredible considering he's been all over the world. 2 of his best 3 career efforts have come over this course and distance. There should be enough juice in the ground for him to run his race again. I know we can't have a 7-year-old beating Mishrif and the Derby and King George winner, but it's just a bottle out bet for me. It's one of those races I just want to savour without having a big financial interest. I think it's a terrific heat, and I'll probably just have a small win bet a day and a decent chunky place bet, and hope he runs his race and let the main 2 fight it out in the last 100 yards and serve up another great duel, a la the King George, hopefully.
Dave, last year's winner for Sam, 9.0. Steve Jones.
Be interesting to see how this pans out as well, because Max Swinney obviously goes forward. It'd be interesting to see what Adair and William Buick does. Drawn fairly wide in 9 of 10. Obviously in the Arc, they were drawn quite wide and they went and made with running. And this is 2 furlongs shorter. If that's the case, there could be a decent pace on. And I think that'll set it up lovely for a horse who's massively overpriced, who also ran in the Arc and was only just behind Adair. And that is Sealaway, who travelled better than anything in the Arc. Was at the back in a fairly slow run race, but had to come wide on the turn, but was still on the bridle as they came round the final turn. And although he was staying on in the closing stages, I didn't think he really saw the trip out, because the horses that came from just in front of him, like the winner Torquay Tatassa and Tarnawa, both finished stronger. And I thought stepping back to a mile and 2, which he was second to St Mark's Basilica at Chantilly in the French Derby, would be perfect. And that run in the Arc was his first run since the French Derby in June. So he's going to be fresher than most. I think he's going to have it set up for him. And the other interesting thing is Mikel Barcelona was on this horse when it won the Group 1 2-year-old race at Art Weekend last season and hasn't ridden it this season. He's back on. I think that's very dangerous from stall 3. I think he's way overpriced. I think he should be single figures, definitely, but he's 15.0.
Mm-hmm.
Massive. Like the ground, got everything in his favour. If he's over that Arc run, which in some respects, because he hadn't run for so long, might bring him on.
Right, this is Rixie. This is your Mishrif just wins, lads moment.
Yeah, I think Mishrif just wins, but it's a fascinating race. I wouldn't be as keen on as Adib as Sam. I think he's maybe on the downgrade. I don't think the ground will quite be soft enough for him. Mishrif, he's coming here after a 59-day break. I don't think that's ideal either, because I think he's better with race, and I think he does himself well when he on his time off. But look, he's trained by a master trainer or trainers in John and Lady Gosson. Adair is not a natural 10 furlong horse, maybe. The other thing is that this is tactically, this all boils down what William Buick does in Adair, doesn't it? Because Max Swinney likes to go forward, but he's not a he's a kind of sitting sprint kind of front runner, not an end-to-end gallop front runner. But I think if Adair is going to win this, he needs to go an honest gallop because he mightn't have the 10 furlong toe of Mishriff. I'm not sure about the price of Mishriff. The other one I was looking at, maybe Dubai Honor without Mishriff. I thought that you got a little bit more bang for your buck in the without market compared to Adair. If you're of the opinion Adair is a 12 furlong horse and Dubai Honor is a progressive 10 furlong horse. So, maybe you get a little bit more value for your money if you play Dubai Honor without Mishriff. But I think obviously, as the market suggests, Mishriff is the most likely winner.
And can I bring in Giles's comments? I want to take you on, Giles. He says the only 3-year-olds to have won in recent years are Cracksman and Almanzor, both of whom were exceptional. No 3-year-old of that caliber in this year's renewal. I'd take you on there on it.
Yeah,
I think he's definitely of that caliber. I think he's rated it higher than Almanzor was when he came to this race. Those two horses didn't run in a heavy ground arc. So Adair, I don't think ran a bad race at all in a heavy ground arc when he was sent for home early doors. Anyway, but having said that, I don't think he'll win this. I don't think this is his ideal trip, and I think 13 days after a heavy ground arc has to be a massive worry. I think Mishriff wins. I know you could probably crab the form of the Jubbont International. Probably wasn't the strongest renewal, but I'm still so taken with what he managed to do out in Saudi on the dirt. That performance over a mile and a half at Meydan was pretty stunning. For all that probably isn't his best trip. Ahead of Chronogenesis, needed the run at Sandown. No disgrace in what happened with he and Adair over the mile and a half. But I think back in trip he'll reverse that form. So Mishriff for me is.
You've done well there, Tom. You managed to appease the Dubai Massive and the Saudi crew, so you should get a couple more trips there.
Always thinking.
Good work.
Always thinking. Incidentally, the entries for the Bahrain International Trophy came out today. Looks a very strong renewal. Really good.
You could just give Sweden a quick mention as well. You'd be off there, mate.
I'll think about it.
Did you get your Newcastle jersey in the post?
Not yet. I'm hoping for it. Why
Excellent.
You can have Steve Bruce's. You both get in that. You and the wife.
Yeah. Right. Let's move. Are we done? We are, aren't we? We've all had a go at that. Good. On we go to the Balmoral Handicap. 4:30. This is. Do you know? I'm not going to give you prices. I'm just going to wait to see who selects, because as things stand, we are. Actually, I should. Summary major is 4.0. 4.0. King Leonidas, who did have William Buick chopped up at one point. Now James Doyle 7.0. Aldari is 8.5. 9.0 Nugget, and then we get back into the big old prices. Rixie, I've listened to you on the draw here. Interesting. Right, Sam. First of all, off you go.
Well, it's an intriguing race, wasn't it? Isn't it? And a number of. For a number of reasons, it could be a title decider. We don't know yet, do we? But it's getting increasingly tight at the top of the table, as they like to say. And Asheen Murphy rides Sabuska here, and I think he's a massive price at the moment, 26.0. I mean, you look at his straight track form at Ascot, and it's absolutely phenomenal. 3 lengths behind Palace Pier in a Queen Anne, number of other good performances there. He'd have been a live one if he'd have run in the QE2, to be honest. It's a surprise that he lined up in this. He's drawn 3 over on the far side. He's got a little bit of pace over there. Maurice Diamond, I think, maybe Ross Collin. It'd just be interesting to see how the bias works out through the day, really, if there is one, with the ground drying out all the time. But I think he's come from behind styles well suited to Ascot. I know he's been knocking his head against a brick wall a little bit this year, but he's been tackling some pretty decent animals, and I don't mind him having top weight in this. I know lots of people will say, well, he got Sunray Major sneaking in the foot of the handicap. He's only got to give it £10, and he's had quite a compacted season. Sunray Major. He's come back from injury or a setback. He's had 2 quick runs, and this is his 3rd one. I'd be a little bit more worried about King Leonidas, who has obviously been trained for this race all season long, pretty much. I think he's a quality horse, but I'm really happy to take a chance with Sabuska at 26.0. I think he's massively overpriced. And really, I could only see his price going one way as well. Depending on how the narrative of the jockey's title pans out through the afternoon, I think you might have a trading opportunity because he's got to shorten, surely.
I'll jump in there because he is one of my selections as well. Just the one for you, Sam, yeah?
Yeah, just, one punt at it.
Sensible. I agree. If I'm putting up Lord Glitters in a, you know what I'm trying to say, QE2, then how am I not backing Sabuska here at 21.0 when Sabuska finished ahead of Lord Glitters and now he's dripping into at the Royal Meeting, now he's dropping into a handicap. I completely agree with everything you said and I don't have much to add. So he's definitely going up. And the other one, purely on I want something this side because most of the pace, like you touched upon, is probably stand side. So that's just a slight niggle for me. I want to have one on this side and just on the old classic all-weather form, but a horse who's got form of cutting the ground is Kenzai Warrior. Is effectively badly in here, I know, but is 26.0 and was bigger when I made the selection. Back to form last time. And actually may not be badly treated based upon his juvenile form a while back. So he went off the boil a bit, but I'll have him on side off the back of that Kempton win last time where he just got up to score. I think the way he tends to be ridden, it will suit this track. So Kenzai Warrior are both the similar sort of prices. He and Sabuska. Declan Ricks.
I won't keep you long. Mean it this time. Yeah, I'm going to put up Salt and Stall, winning place. I just think he's too big a price for a horse who's been holding his form well. I've always kind of thought these straight track kind of races where they go good gallop set up well for him, but the two times he's been to Ascot he hasn't performed well, so that's a little bit of a worry. But with Keane McRedmond taking £5 off his back there, if he can reproduce his penultimate effort at the Curragh, where the race didn't pan out too well for him in a Premier Handicap, I think he's handicapped to go close here, to be honest, and he's a big price. So look, we're going to need a little bit of luck, but I think the price is just the main thing. So I'll put up Salt and Stall for Adrian now Group 1 winning trainer Adrian McGuinness.
Salt and Stall for you. Should I give you a price? Did you give out the price, Rixie?
I didn't know.
Okay, I should do that, shouldn't I? A good presenter would have it at their fingertips. But, that's not me. 34.0, Steve Jones.
Yeah, I can see both of those. Salt and Stall is certainly an interesting runner. And Sabuska, I would have gone for had it not been for the draw. I think he's going to need Marie's Diamond to go quick over on that far side. And I got a sneaking suspicion that they'll split into maybe a large group on the stand side and a smaller group on the far side. But I think Sabuska's overpriced. But this is my Sunray Major just wins. Lord Glitters won this a few years ago and then won the Queen Anne a couple of years later. That's the way Sunray Major's heading, and just sneaking in at the bottom of the weights, albeit on a very compacted handicap. I just think this horse is all class. Obviously, the breeding's there. Is a half brother to Kingman. There's more stamina in the pedigree as well, if you look around. And so going up from 7 furlongs to a mile is going to suit Sunray Major, and absolutely hosed up at Ascot last time when over 7, which he got to the front way too soon and just had a look around. He's just a class horse, and even at 4.0 in a 20 runner field or whatever it is, well, it wouldn't be the worst bet in the world.
Sunray Major for you heading the betting. Right. One-liners, here we go. Best bet. Sam Turner, your best bet.
Sabuska, win and place.
Declan Ricks, your best bet.
Brando, win and place.
Like it. Steve Jones, your best bet.
Steal away, win and place.
And I'm going to go for a misriff. Palace Pier, Big Johnny G, rolling the big dice double. I think
so you're praying that his horses don't fall off a cliff this year then, Tom?
It's just the way the world works, isn't it? They were all disappointing last year and they're all overpriced coming back this year. That's what I think is going to happen. Doubling them up. There you go. Sam, Declan, Steve, thank you very much indeed. It's set to be a great day. Good luck, whether you're following us in or not. If you're looking elsewhere, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.